Welcome to the Weekends Overrated. It's your host, Don Dollar. It was sunny the other day, a little brisky today. You know, this weather, you gotta be a Gemini. It's playing both sides, but that's all right. Make sure, anybody checking out the YouTube, Instagram, like, subscribe, share. We appreciate all the love. Little by little, like I said, our goal is to keep the momentum going and grow and build the channel. So let's definitely tap in and keep that going. We're gonna pivot today. A little story time. It follows the mantra of real things in real time by real people. I want to talk about a special time in my life, and I call it a special time because I feel like it was one of the defining periods that I felt like served me a lot after, as I progressed and got older. When I was in high school, I started off kind of rough. School in general really wasn't, on my radar. It was just hanging out, football, girls, and that kind of put me behind the 8 ball because later, or shortly after, once I switched high schools, football became a real thing, playing on the next level collegiately. But all of the playing I did early on, it cost me the opportunity to, go to some of the schools that I would have preferred to go to out the gate. So I ended up taking the Juco route. If you have any understanding or knowledge about junior college football, you understand the ins and outs. It don't matter if you was, on the East Coast, Nassau, ASA, I can't even remember Hudson Valley, if you was, Coffeyville out in Kansas, if you was out West Coast, wherever you was at, if you know Juco football, you understand the grind, right? For me, I didn't understand Juco football initially. I thought, it was just, it was a stepping stone, but I didn't understand, like, the full gist of what it would take, in order to transition from junior college football to getting your credits to, getting a scholarship and trying to hit that next level. So for me, I think this was a special time because it tested me both from a I guess you could say an athletic standpoint, a mental standpoint, but also personally. And at the time, I wasn't enthusiastic about it. That time wasn't very fond in my memory bank during the time. But as time has, passed, I see all of the valuable lessons that, I felt like I had to endure, I had to go through. From a football standpoint, once you go from high school where, you're a top player in the state, and then you go to college where, it's more than likely it's a handful to a lot of really good guys or top guys on one team, right? And then once you go beyond that, everybody's good, or, you know what I mean? So, going to junior college, I went to Nassau up in, I think it's Garden City in Long Island, and to be in that kind of competitive environment, I think the first day of camp was like 300 guys, and I think by the second half of practice we was down to like 230, and then like each day, guys are getting cut. And even though I was recruited there, I didn't know like that was the competitive environment. I thought it was okay, I'm recruited here, okay, I got my spot, I'm going do what I do, etc. And I didn't take it serious as I should have out the gate. I thought, as one of my old football coaches from Little League would say, I thought I had a ride. Shout out to Coach Carey. But and going through and having those moments where coaches are getting on you, and you think they hate you, right? But really, a coach could always, or in most instances, coaches have a good measurement of if you're really, maximizing your opportunity. And I wasn't at the time. Like I said, I thought, I just had to show up and, I'm good. I didn't, understand the workload that you gotta put in is a totally different tier. So as I was, transitioning and navigating and going through my growing pains, I had some wins and I had some losses. As in, some days were great for me, because I was one of the, it was like a handful of freshmen who got to dress for our first game, and I was one of them, because, I had, put together a couple really, really good practices. But then, again, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I did this, I'm dressing, I'm traveling, okay, so I'm good, right? And I wasn't paying attention to the fine details, and sure enough, when it came time, game time, I made a mistake, I think it was a read option. I went for the running back. Quarterback kept that thing, it was gone. And, that kind of put me in the doghouse. But I think from a confidence standpoint, it kind of had me in park or neutral, right? Like my foot wasn't on the gas because I didn't understand it wasn't a matter of ability. It was a matter of mental focus and, putting in work. See, I wasn't putting in the work. I wasn't going to the gym after, hours. I wasn't, in the playbook like I should have been. You know what I mean? And even from a personal standpoint, that was the first time I had been, away from home for an extended period of time, and, feeling what homesick felt like and all of these different things. But again, those were lessons that I felt like I had to learn, I had to go through, I had to be comfortable in different environments for what was to come. And I look back on it now. I'm still really cool with a lot of teammates and some coaches from that time period. And I look back now, and like I said, the only thing is that when I left Nassau, it was a period of time where, if outside looking in, it was over. Like, I have no motion. I wasn't talking to no schools. I didn't have no offers. I didn't have anything. I didn't even have any film to get an offer. But I think for me, I wanted to come hella high water. I just wanted to figure it out. And that's what I was able to do. I was able to take all of those lessons that I learned at Nassau, and then when I got my next opportunity, even though the next opportunity I don't even want to get into all of the nuances, but the next opportunity was crazy. Let's just put it that way. But I was able to take all of the things that I didn't do the first time around, and I was able to really lock in on them. I was in the gym, after practice. I was getting them extra sets in, getting them extra reps in. I was in the playbook. I was watching film, paying attention to detail, paying attention to splits, paying attention to, okay, if I'm shooting this gap and I got the double team, making sure I'm doing half a man, all of the tricks of the trade for, defensive line. So it's funny because I ended up going to, in all actuality, a really bad situation. I went from a good situation that I didn't take advantage of to a really bad situation that I took full advantage of, but I had to navigate a little bit harder because the people that was in charge of the next situation I was in, I don't know if integrity would be a great word to describe them, but all in all, that allowed me to, really tap into being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and then that ended up serving me well, because that extra work and staying ready and locked in once my opportunity came, I was ready for it. I got a scholarship offer off of a 40-second iPhone video. It was like recording on a screen. It wasn't like how the huddle films are now, where we have like the icon where you can see where the player is. You just had to, look where the play was being made. And I attribute all of that, that grit, that grind, like I said, for the 2 years I was at Nassau, because especially in my second year, where, things kind of really went south, that was like the fuel, because I felt like, oh, everybody thinks I'm going to fail, or nobody thinks I'm going to succeed, or, whatever. So that was like, it was driving me up a wall. I'm like, watch this, I'm going to figure it out. And again, even though I didn't have no motion at the time, I was going to figure it out. Come hell or high water, I was going to figure it out. And I said to myself, whatever my next opportunity is that I find myself in, I'm just going to go crazy. And then I was able to do that. And even, once I got my scholarship, I show up to camp first day, and mind you, my highlight tape, 40 seconds, iPhone film. And it's not the new iPhone, this is like iPhone 3. And they had guys from, out west, they tape looked like baby Aaron Donald. But I look at the depth chart, and mind you, nobody really seen anybody, like, this is day one. And they got me second string, and I was like, oh, okay. Got you. And then by the second half of practice, the depth chart was adjusted correctly as it should have been, because, that's just the type of energy that I inserted, with all the different drills we were doing. So I just say all that to say, when you're going through the fire, a lot of times, pressure situations that can mess with your confidence or make you feel like you inadequate or something isn't for you, man, that's like the oven, man. The oven get the meal ready. You know what I'm saying? Without no oven, what is a meal without an oven? You know what I mean? So it really just prepares you, for what's to come. And I look back on, on that time in my life, and I'm like, that prepared me for so much more in life than just football. Football was the tool in which I had to utilize to, take those intangibles and those lessons and then transition them, and all other aspects of life. So just wanted to share that this good old morning. But that's all we got for today. Stay out the way. Peace.